working. Okay, let me go again. Okay, I'm sending it. Again, let me know if that one works. And then, Eric, did you want to get us started? Or did you want to give a little bit more time?
No, we can go ahead and get started if you'd like. Hey
Okay.
everybody, this is Eric with DOL headquarters. This training's pretty important for everybody. We have a new training set up now with the new slides that we, Brandy and I, or I'm sorry, Audrey and I put together to help the flow of it, help the flow of the training go a little bit easier, and to for you guys to keep these training slides, you should keep them and pass them out to your POCs. That way, if they weren't on the call today and they have questions, that can help guide them a little bit. And I highly encourage this training, even if you've seen it before and in autos every day. It doesn't hurt to be on here just to in case something new pops up. And Audrey's been doing a fantastic job with this training. So go ahead, Audrey. It's all yours.
Okay. Thanks so much, Eric. Yeah, so Eric and I have made updates to this user guide. You may have seen it before, but we've been working on it, making it a little bit more user friendly and easier on the eyes. And we've updated the screenshots and all that. So if you'd like, you can use this one to kind of as your point of reference if you have trouble throughout the system. And then you can always reach out to us if you have any questions about some of the aspects of the system. But again, my name is Audrey, and I work with the customer support with, we're the contractor for DOL, Net Digital Solutions, and we have created the fleet management system that you all use. It's called the Automobile Use Tracking Online System for autos. So getting started here, we have the table of contents, and this is the major points that we're going to be hitting on today. These are the features that you're going to use, and we're going to show you a step-by-step way to kind of what your monthly routine should be. And then getting started, I have included here the support email address for myself, and that's going to be if you have any technical questions about the system. And then if you have any policy related questions, you might want to contact the fleet manager or Ron Rogers or Eric Dennis, and they're at the headquarters level, and together we can help you out. Okay. For You might be wondering why you need to maintain autos and GSA Fleet Gov and why that's important. So autos actually gathers the information from GSA and other sources, and it alerts us to any potential data issues. And by logging in on a monthly basis, this keeps your information current, complete, and accurate. And this is all working towards, several different data calls throughout, the life cycle of the in the fleet program. They might ask for different information, and we assist them with that information. And also to the federal automotive statistical tool, FAST. At the end of the year, December 15th, we have to submit that. And this really helps us make sure that, the mileage is correct and the miles per gallon and all of that is what it needs to be prior to when we hit that button. We don't want to wait until the end of the year to kind of scurry and do that. Okay, so you're going to see me kind of flip from the PowerPoint and then to the live site. And that way you guys can also get a feel for how the site works. I know some people might be new, but some people might also be used to the system as well. So for logging in, if you don't already have access, I can provide you access or your fleet manager can provide you access. So however they kind of want that to work. And if you need a higher level of support, I can be there for you. Just to let you know, it works best in Google Chrome or Safari. So I know a lot of people like to use Microsoft Edge, but there might be a little bit of um, delay or kind of features that don't look the same in Microsoft Edge because it's not as up to date. So just wanted to say that. And then when we're logging in here, you'll hit the sign on button, and there's some features that you can use: the show password, the keep me logged in if you don't want to be signed out after a period of time, and then the sign on button. There's also a password reminder, in which case you'd hit that. You'd get an email, and that way you can reset your password from the email. I know sometimes people say they either didn't get the email or maybe it took a little bit longer. If you don't happen to get that email, I can certainly help you out. But look for it in your junk or clutter, or sometimes DOL calls it a quarantine folder. So that's a little bit specific to DOL. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. And one thing I want to show you as well right off the bat is where to reset your password if you'd like, because the password that we give you is a little bit, it's a jumble of letters and numbers so that it's secure. But you can go here and say reset password, and then you can create the password that you'd like. Okay. One other thing to make note of resetting your password is this little note right here. We are actually going to be updating this. And so you'll see the sign off button here for a little while, but we're going to be updating it to say my profile. And that's where you're going to see your account settings and different things that you would need to manage your profile. So stay tuned for that update. Okay. The next feature that you all will use heavily is My Vehicles. This is where you're going to view, edit, manage your vehicles all at a glance. And we try to include everything that we can think of in this one portal so that you can select a vehicle and then see everything that you need. If there's anything that you can think of or that you want added, guys, I want you to think of this system as your system, because it's designed for you and how to make your jobs easier and get the information that you need. So if you have any suggestions for this page or any other page, please feel free to let your fleet manager know, and we will talk about that at the project level to get that added. So sorry, that was a little side note, but for My Vehicles, you'll also be able to see, the fleet managers can see all of the vehicles within their agency, but the vehicle contacts will only see their local vehicles, or maybe the vehicles that have been additionally assigned to them. And I'll show you all how to do that as well. One question that I get a lot, let me go back to that one, is what if I don't see a vehicle that I know is mine? So maybe that previous POC left and now you want to be assigned to that. So you can definitely either reach out to your fleet manager or myself, and we can assign you to that vehicle. And say that you want someone to be your backup, in which case you're going on vacation or some kind of leave or detail. You might want to assign another person to be that vehicle. So you can either ask us or the primary point of contact as labeled in GSA, and then they would be able to assign you to that vehicle as well. So let me head over to the live site so that you can kind of see how that works. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to impersonate my friend Lashante with OSHA, and that way we can work with her contact. Otherwise, you're going to see 10,000 vehicles over here. Okay. Let's see, for My Vehicles. Okay. So in here, you'll be able to kind of filter on any information that you want. Say that you're just looking for a specific vehicle. You can search in here by the VIN tag, location, the make, the model, anything that you can think of right here. And then you can search by status as well. So it defaults to active, but maybe you're looking for a vehicle that was disposed of the prior year or this FY. and you can do that as well. You can search based on agency. Maybe you are a part of 2 different agencies and you could do that. The own type, state, vehicle type is if it has a file on it, and I'll show you that down here. There's a place there you can have a file. You can also shoot over here to advanced and do it by contact. If you're the fleet manager, you might want to know by contact. Or any of these, if it has an expired tag, or maybe you want to see one that's expiring in 90 days. And just to let you know, anytime that you do this, you can filter on maybe you want to see all your vehicles that have telematics. You can do that. Then you can export this to Excel. You'll get this, and then you'll be able to have that report come up and generate, and you can send that to whoever you need to. Okay, so that's kind of showing you here what that would look like. It would have all this information in here. Okay, the next thing that we want to talk about is the different levels of information that are shown on my vehicles. And this is labeled SMS info. And this is mostly something that you won't need at the vehicle contact level. It's something for headquarters, but it's just letting us know what building is at DOL. And so that might come in useful later if there's a data call. This one, as you can see, is the telematics. And if you hover over this, it'll let you know what it is. So the telematics, if I click on that, it's actually going to show me all the registered telematics information that we have for that vehicle. If we go here, I'm not going to click on this because it's going to bring up a big report. But if you click on here, it's going to be vehicle research. And that allows you to do a deep dive into the vehicle. And this is especially helpful, say that your vehicle is disposed of. And GSA, once a vehicle is disposed of in their system, you're not really able to search on it or run a report or do any historical, kind of research on it. So we've created this where even if the vehicle isn't disposed of, but say, there's a vehicle disposed of last FY and you need to know, what the miles were or what it was billed. You can do that here by clicking this button and you'll get all the historical information about that vehicle. This one is for the fuel and odometer. It actually is still under construction, but we are linking it to the odometer page that we currently have. So if you click on that and you get an error right now, we are working on an update for that one. For the edit button, I'm going to go ahead and click on this. This one might be the one that you use more often. So for basic and extended, in basic, you'll be able to manage the location, the assignment type. Maybe the tag will change over the course of the vehicle if it expires. Or if you want to add any additional information here, you can go into extended and add an acquisition cost if this was an owned. Another feature in here is to update the address. And I know this looks different and we've had a lot of questions on this, so I'm going to go over it really quick for you. The address, what we're trying to do right now is standardize them so that all of DOL's information addresses are kind of standard. There's not a bunch of different spellings for like boulevard and things like that. So what we have here is you can go into update address, say that this vehicle changes locations, and you can say, maybe I want it to not be in Ohio anymore. I want it to be in, the Francis Perkins building. So I can start typing that and a bunch of things will come up here and I can see, okay, maybe I want this one. And I'll click this Google button and it will change the address for me. But what if what I want doesn't come up in this? So then we would go to this button, Request Address Addition, and we would enter in the street, the city, the state, and the zip, and say email support. What this does now is it lets us know that there's a new address that we will research at the headquarters level to make sure that it either follows the guidelines or it matches to another address. or maybe we need to add an additional address to the portfolio. So those are things that you can do here if you need to add a new address, and then it will either be approved or researched by headquarters. Does anybody have a question about the request address addition?
I do. This is Ashante, Audrey.
Yes.
So I put in a couple of requests for a change of address for a couple of our offices, but I was sitting here thinking, I also emailed like the FSR so that they'll know that the address changed as well. When GSA drive-through update the address in their database, does it transfer over to autos, or do we still have to put in the request to add the address there and then go back once it's approved and add the address?
That is a great question. We are actually working with, and Eric might be able to answer this a little bit better. I think we are working with GSA and it will come over. We have the GSA address, and then we will also show, what the last auto's address was. And we keep all that information historical just so that we can keep track of, the different addresses. But you shouldn't have to put it in again unless it's not the garaged address, which is the one that we want inside autos.
Okay.
Hey, Lashante, I
Yeah.
believe once it's updated in GSA, I believe it will flow into autos. The only thing is that sometimes GSA is going to put in a billing address, which might be a say a PO box, or it might be the location address with a suite number. Those we cannot have in autos. We need the physical parking location of the vehicle. So if you go into autos after updating GSA and you see that it shows the GSA address with the suite number or PO box or something like that, then you'll need to update it in autos to be a different address than what GSA is showing.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, thank you,
Thanks,
Eric.
Eric.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and that's the only thing that we're trying to, and this is a work in progress as well, making sure that the addresses are as clean as possible. So I did see that you requested a couple of those, so we'll be reviewing and researching those. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's that for edits. And then for add a vehicle contact. So like I was saying before, if you want somebody to be your backup or you're adding a new contact to the system, you can do that by going to add vehicle contact and then copying and pasting or typing out a new email address. And then once you click out of that box, it's going to add that person. Okay. Let's see. Sorry, I need to refresh. Okay. The next one is going to be an accident. And when you click on this, you'll be able to see the different accident information. And let's see if that came up. And right now, I think it takes you to all of the accidents. It doesn't just take you to the one, but it'll take you to the accident page so that you can see the different accident information that you might need to review. The next one is going to be notes, and this is by request from one of our users. So maybe you have, something that you want to follow this vehicle and be, this note came over from such and such center, or this vehicle has, some kind of dent on it or something like that. Something that you want to follow it. And then you can have a category for it. Or you can archive it if it's no longer applicable. And then when you hit save, it's going to follow that vehicle so that anybody who has access to that vehicle can see it. Okay, the next one is going to be files. And this is going to be if you wanted to add or upload any like receipts or maybe any information that you have about that vehicle. It's not necessarily required, but you may want to do it just so that you have all the information in one place that everybody can see. So these are just some of the newer features that we've added to My Vehicles. Okay, does anybody have any questions about the My Vehicles, the Manage My Vehicles page? We went through these slides. If there are no questions, then we're going to move on to the magic bar and flag data elements. So the flag data elements, or we call it a magic bar as a nickname, it is going to show you all of the critical data categories. And that means, like, we want to make sure that none of the information is missing. We want every vehicle to have an address. We want every recall to be reviewed so that you know that there's a recall on that vehicle. And this lets you and lets your team know that we are managing our data, and that way at the end of the fiscal year, we are good to go. So the data that comes in monthly, it is going to be 1 month behind. We get it from a lot of different data sources, but mostly from GSA. And so we like to have that bill, and the bill is going to be for the prior month. And a lot of like the fuel file and everything like that is going to be for the prior month. So again, the agency fleet managers, they're going to see their whole fleet progress. And then as a vehicle contact, you're only going to see your vehicle. So you may have 5, and the agency fleet manager, like LaShante, is going to see 280. Your goal is to get it to 100% or to green. Now, there might be some times when you are actually not able to get it to green, but we want you to do your best in order to make that happen. For instance, for separated contact, and we're going to go over that next, there's not really anything that you can do on your end to correct that. It's just the system letting you know that there is a contact in the system who is no longer with the Department of Labor. So you'll need to fix that with GSA or add a new contact, but there's not really anything that you can do within that to make it 100%. So I think that'll make a little bit more sense as I go through it, but I know a lot of people want everything to be green, and most of the time it is. But just to let you know, sometimes there are going to be maybe like one thing that you can't do. It's just letting you know that there's, that potential flag or information there. And we don't want it to go away, or you might forget. Okay, so going to the one, and hopefully this is where I get a lot of participation and a lot of questions, because this one is our newest feature and one of the most critical for the FAST. So for odometer, we've recently changed it to where it streamlines this as a validation process. So now you're going to go in and you're just going to check everything. And it's going to be really easy, especially if there are no errors. But it's going to let you know if there are any flags. So a potential flag could be a negative miles. An odometer cannot go from, let's say, 20 miles to 18 miles. It's just not possible. So we want to make sure that everything is consistent, and that's what we're checking for. You want to make sure that you're putting in the ending odometer reading for that month and making sure that that's correct. So an odometer tip is just to be, you'll see this little yellow flag here if there's any issues, and then this is going to flag you to any potential problems. One thing to note here is that the flag doesn't necessarily mean that you don't need to manipulate or lie about any of your data. If you had an unusually high miles for that month and you went over 2,000 miles for that vehicle, it's going to flag it just because that's an out of the ordinary thing to happen, but that might be correct. Okay, so I'm going to go into the system and show you all the odometer readings. Another thing to note is that this is going to actually default to no, reviewed no. And you can change that. You can say all, or you can say yes. to see everything that has been reviewed or maybe not reviewed. We just do this because this is going to be the one that you need to work on. The other thing to note is that for May and for any other month that's up and coming, we normally get the data file on like the 5th or the 6th. Right now, we still haven't uploaded that data file, so it's not here, it's not populated yet. But once it is, it will look like the previous months that you have here. So, oh, do we have a question?
Yeah, this is LaShante. When you
Yes.
mentioned these gray areas, as I was
Mhm.
in here reviewing some of mine, so that would mean that, so say from like October to December, if that is great, that means that the vehicle, they didn't receive that vehicle until January, because there's no data before that. Is that
Yes.
correct when you see that?
Yeah, that
Okay,
means
okay,
we don't have any, it's kind of like our placeholder, we don't have any information about that on that
okay,
date.
okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes, no problem. Great question. Yeah, if you see that, and if like say the vehicle, you did get it before that, or maybe it just didn't have any, it didn't fuel up or anything like that, definitely let us know. Or if you know for a fact that that vehicle did have data from GSA, let us know, give us a screenshot, and then we can research that on the back end because there might have been an error with that file or something like that. So I'm really going to highlight this vehicle here because this has a negative miles. And you might be wondering, why is this saying a negative miles? Well, and the whole reason why we check odometer readings is because, you go to the gas pump and you have to put in the odometer reading, but there's a million things going on and you might enter in a wrong number, or maybe you miss a digit or something like that. And that really throws off the numbers for the rest of the year. So we really want to get it cleaned up as soon as possible. And what this is telling you, from this month to this month, it went negative 15,000 miles. So that really doesn't make sense. That's not possible. So what you want to do is go in here, and if you can see my cursor and everything, I can highlight this. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to mess up the data, but you can clear that out and enter in the right data. So, maybe that vehicle was driven only like 10 miles or something, and you would look at that receipt that you have or that logbook if you have it and refer back to that month. And then you'd enter in the right data, the right odometer reading for that month. And then you'd hit this checkbox. Once you do that, it will turn
You can
green.
change it. I have the number. You can do a live change so that you
Oh,
can
awesome.
actually
Okay,
show
what's
it.
that number? Oh, do you want to give me that number?
No. You can use the number. I said I copied that number so that we can go back to that number.
Oh, okay, great. So let's see. I'm just going to go in here and then say 65. Maybe it didn't go anywhere that month, just to be. And then so once you do that, it's going to say miles 0. So that means it went 0 miles, and I can go in and click green. So now this vehicle is all up to date. One thing that my fleet manager yesterday noticed was that it's still going to have this flag on it right now because our flags are a little bit delayed. And so it also keeps the flag history. So that way we know, okay, these vehicles had the flag on it, especially for our reporting. We like to be able to go back and review that at the end of the month or year to see all the vehicles that had flags on it. So you might see that as well. Does anybody have any questions or maybe want me to go through another example? I'm going to see if there's another one. For instance, for this one, we want to be sure that we are, you click it, you can change that number. And then once you do that, this miles is going to recalculate and it's going to go it's not going to turn green. It's still going to have that little flag there on it. But once you click this box, it will become green to say that you validated it.
Hey, Audrey, so on that one, the
Mhm.
previous month, you could see that they, probably at the pump
Yeah.
entered the wrong odometer, and that's why it threw that one off. So you'll have to, Lashante, you would have to validate the prior month to make sure it should be like 35,000, not 104,000
Okay.
roughly.
Yeah. Oh, and Eric, thank you for reminding me. So for this one too, I did talk to Floyd. For some reason there's an error. It's only showing on like the latest one, but he's gonna go back and make sure that it shows red on all of the ones that are
Perfect.
erroneous.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that'll be very helpful for the users to see that. It'll just kind of highlight it, be like, oh, something's going on here.
Yes, yes. And so also guys, like you said, me and Eric are working through this. If you see anything that, even should be flagged and you're like, okay, this would be very helpful if this could be flagged. Definitely tell your fleet manager and we will talk about it at our next meeting and we can get those added. Anything that would help you direct your eye to where you need to go. So you'll see here, you have the vehicle information. You can even click here if you want to see like the different fuel records, fuel transactions that might give you like jog your memory a little bit. You'll see here the total miles. I see that this is kind of going outside of the lines a little bit. We just need to clean that up. But as we start making improvements and we have different versions, you'll see these things start to get cleaned up. But that is how this feature works now. And it's really important that you take a look at the miles and the odometer that you're entering here. Make sure that it's the ending odometer and that it's correct. Okay, and then I'll show you a little example at the end of how that reflects back in your monthly fleet report. Okay. So the next one is going to be AIE. And so that stands for Agency Incurred Expenses. And for agency incurred expenses, it's basically something that GSA is not covering in the lease. And what you're going to look out for on this page is maybe a duplicate charge or things that should have been covered in the lease, but you notice are not. Some of those things are car washes, oil change, and recalls. Those really should be taken care of by GSA. And sometimes if we talk to the FSR, we're like, hey, we noticed that you charged us for this, and you provide them with the information, you might be able to recover some of those costs. Okay, so let's go back into the system. And OSHA is great. They are doing a great job. They have 100% on their AIEs. So let me see if I can go to the ones that have already been reviewed. Okay, awesome. So it's going to look just like this. It's going to tell you, okay, you can search on a vehicle. You can choose a different category. Maybe you want to do that. You can search on the agency or an over amount. Maybe you're only interested in the ones that are over $500 or something like that. And then you can also export that to Excel. So if you need to send this to your FSR, you want to say, I want to check out this one, and this one. You can send that report on over to them or your fleet manager so that you can, get to the bottom of those charges. So for instance, this one is challenged and they're like, I provided the receipts last time because they didn't have any cars towed. So once they go back, this is your record. The one thing that you'll notice here, there's receipts here and they challenged it. The one thing to note, and it says it right here, is the charge is not valid, and then you'll dispute this with GSA. Since our system is not linked with GSA, we are not affiliated with them. We just use their data and create the alerts. You will need to contact your GSA FSR, and that way you can have a dialogue with them about maybe recovering those costs. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on AIEs? Okay, great. And then for the address, that's at 100%. So I'm going to refer back to my slides here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so you all can see it. Okay, for missing address, what you'll do, most of the time, this information is already filled out, especially if the vehicle comes from GSA or it's leased. Sometimes this happens if it's an owned vehicle and maybe that information got was missed. And we just let you know because address is a FAST required field. And we want to make sure that we're putting in the garaged address. So the physical location that the vehicle is at, not a PO box. So when you're doing that, just pay special attention, and we will give you, if there is one, start pre-populating it and have that information here. But you'll start typing it into the street, city, state, and zip, and then you'll click save. Okay, for the assignment type, works in a very similar way. You'll have these three options. There's actually four, but the fourth one is shared. And that is not a commonly used assignment type. And if you believe your vehicle is shared, you may want to contact your fleet manager or PPMO before you select that. So you'll have the individual assignment type, which is a vehicle is assigned to a specific person or official. The office assigned type, which is it's assigned to or available for use by personnel of an office, or pool, which is assigned to a motor pool by multiple offices. So you'll do select one of those and then just hit the save button. For missing vehicle contact, this is kind of similar to what I showed you all before. Each vehicle needs a person assigned to it that's responsible for it. And especially if it's a GSA vehicle, it is going to already be taken care of. But in some instances, the person might leave, or it might be an agency owned vehicle. And we need you to go in here and click this icon here, this person icon, and then enter in the email address of the person you want to assign. Okay. For missing tag, this also is sometimes applicable for agency owned, but sometimes can be for GSA leased. Maybe if that vehicle, the tag has expired and there's a new tag or something like that, you're going to look here and enter in the tag number, and just pay special attention to detail for this, because this is a more readily available way to see the vehicle. So not a lot of people type in the VIN. You're going to be typing in the tag, and if the tag is incorrect, then it's harder to search on it. Okay, let's see here. I think, yeah, that one was at 100% as well. But those are all really, really simple, just either entering in the information and hitting save along with the vehicle contact and stuff like that. Okay. The separated contact, and this one I had referred to earlier, it's letting you know that we get a lot of outside information. We get the DOL separations report. And so that's letting us know that, this particular person is actually no longer with DOL. And so that person cannot be the vehicle contact anymore. The one thing to note is that sometimes GSA takes a little bit of time. We've seen it take up to like 3 months before to get that person changed over. So you can kind of circumvent that by adding an additional contact. Maybe you want to add that new person, and you can declare them as a primary on that My Vehicle page that I showed you earlier. Okay, and that is, I think I can show you this here, because that is at 100%. or not at 100%. So you'll see that, these people here have left the department, and this is the FSR. So that's the person that you're going to want to contact about that vehicle. You can export that to Excel as well if that's easier for you to copy and paste. You can also research the vehicle easily by doing that here. Okay. And the next one is going to be overdue service. So the system is going to alert you when GSA has determined a service has been missed. GSA estimates the miles that are on the vehicle. So this was a bigger problem during COVID, but it might happen now if there's a vehicle that's underutilized. Say, for instance, they're saying that the vehicle needs an oil change, but it hasn't gone the number of miles. The recommended is like 3,000. So you might want to contact your FSR and let them know, hey, this vehicle really doesn't need service right now. And then you can get that corrected. Or maybe they have estimated the miles, it's off. So you just want to do that because an overdue service can turn into an AIE, and we don't want to have an unnecessary charge. Okay, certifying in autos is just letting us know and letting your team know that you've seen that information. So going here, let's see. So we have, they're all at 100%, but what you do is if it wasn't at 100%, you would click on that star button, you do reviewed, the date that you reviewed it, and then maybe you want to add a little comment if there is any, like, oh, okay, I got the service completed on such and such date. You can do that as well. Okay, the next one is going to be open recalls. I'm going to go shoot there. And this is going to tell you if a vehicle has any outstanding recalls. And the thing to know about this is we do get these every month, so you might see them reoccurring. There's not really anything you can do about that because we get that file from GSA, but you can go in here and say reviewed, the date, and then like maybe this vehicle is in the shop, it's awaiting a part. I've heard that before, that the vehicle is waiting 6 months, maybe 3 months for a part. It's a special order that they have to do. What we want to do is encourage communication between you and your FSR about that recall, because the recalls, well, they affect the safety of the vehicle, and if it turns into an AIE, then you're being charged for something that maybe you took care of, or it's just been an outstanding amount of time because of something out of your control. Okay, going to accidents. Oh, and with the same thing as overdue service, you're going to click on this star button, review it, enter the date, and then enter in a little comment if you have one. And you can also upload documents here too if you have that paperwork. So for this one, okay, these are the accidents. And as you can see, they've already been reviewed. They're all in green, so that's great news for OSHA. This is just providing you with an overview of the information that is on the bill for that accident. And what we like to encourage people to do is review the details that are provided from GSA. Sometimes they have marked, the government at fault when, you might have, paperwork that's saying, the other person was at fault or something like that. Or maybe they have the details wrong or the estimated cost wrong, and you're going to want to contact them and correct that on their end so that you're not being charged unnecessarily. And it's also good to kind of review this information to make sure that we know, the causes of the accidents and things like that for the safety reports. Okay. The next one is the tag expiration date. And this is a new category that's pretty recent that we're working on. Not necessarily a data call, but we are flagging now if any of the tags are expired. One thing about them is, when the vehicle's tag expired from GSA, they actually changed the tag number too. So you might want to go ahead and put in here the new tag number so that it can be associated with that VIN number. The one thing to do as well is to make sure that you're entering in the new expiration date. And we have here, ensure the date is in a 2-digit month, 2-digit day, 4-digit year format, and that way it will capture it and we can store that new information. Does
Hey,
anybody
Audrey.
have, oh, yep.
Real quick, when you enter the expiration date, when you get your new tag from GSA, it's only going to have a month and a year on there. So for the day, just use the last day of that month, whatever it may be.
Oh, good point. Does anybody have any questions about this new category?
There is actually a question in the chat, Audrey, that I thought might be beneficial to answer out loud. So they said their office includes personnel from 2 different departments, so they want to know if that would be office or considered pool.
Okay, Eric, do you know?
What are the 2 are they both with Department of Labor, OSHA and WB?
OSHA and Women's Bureau, WB.
Okay, so WB is part of DOL. So I would put that down as office.
Okay, awesome.
I have a question.
Yes.
Hi, Audrey. This is Keisha. How are you?
Hi, Keisha. I'm good.
Okay, good. I know I probably missed the last few of these autos training, so I don't know if you went over this or not, but I just had a question about, how when you go in and you're validating the odometer meter, how do you verify that what they're putting in is correct? Like, it's because I saw where you clicked on the vehicle research to look for, I think it was I'm sorry to make you go, but yeah, here. So
Okay.
I know that, you said to look for like red flags, if there's like a negative or anything, but the numbers that are showing for each vehicle, is there a way as the fleet manager to go in and kind of validate that what's been put in is accurate, or we just have to kind of, I guess, assume that what's in here is okay?
That is a great question. So we actually, we get this information from GSA. So we are trying to validate to make sure that that information is correct. So I'm not sure. I think some departments have like logbooks or something like that. If you have that, I'm not sure. Eric, how would they validate that what the vehicle contact is putting in is correct?
Yeah, Keisha, do you guys keep any sort of mileage log on a monthly basis on each vehicle?
I think the field all, because everybody's kind of working remotely now. I don't know. I know that the vehicles haven't been used as much as they have been in the past, but I know some of the offices would have the employees come in and they would sign a book and, sign out the vehicles but I think did all of that go electronically? I can't remember if they're still, so maybe that could be a way that I could maybe have them share that with me just to see if I see any discrepancies or anything off.
Yeah, well, so what you'd have
Okay.
to do, like in what from what Audrey's showing on the screen there, so like if vehicle 4305V is yours and you want to look at that mileage where it shows 104,305 miles, you'd want to contact that vehicle contact and say, hey, this is what I'm showing for the month. It's obviously incorrect. Can you have them do the research to find out what the mileage actually was at the end of that month? And then you would change it in there to what they tell you. That's the best way you're gonna have to go about it, is to contact that person, and hopefully they're keeping some sort of record on mileage to help you out.
Okay. Thanks, Audrey, and thank you, Dennis. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and that is a great point to bring up. kind of have to trust that the information that is being validated is correct somehow. And so that's why we have these different levels of hierarchy. But if you're different locations, that can be really difficult. So this information also will be compiled into the monthly fleet report. So that hopefully will also alert you to maybe any discrepancies that you may not see, especially if you have either a large fleet or it's just kind of hard to see, all these numbers. So our monthly fleet report, which I'll show you a little sample of, will kind of pinpoint any errors like this and give you the vehicle contact as well. So you know exactly who to contact.
Hi, Audrey. This is Pam.
Hi, Pam.
Dennis, I have a quick question for you. When the driver goes to purchase gas, don't they have to put in the current mileage before they pump the gas?
Yes, they do need to, but a lot of times they either inadvertently put in the wrong number, or I've seen it with prior agencies I've been with where they don't really care and they just throw in whatever numbers they feel like just to get the pump working. So you cannot rely on that 100% because it may not be correct.
Okay, well, as a suggestion, being a person from a previous station and dealing with fleet, every time our drivers went to go purchase gas, they would put that mileage on the actual receipt, and that's it. So that would be a way to confirm if someone wants to follow up and see what was the mileage at that time. It's just a thought.
Correct. That's a great idea.
Okay.
It's just making sure people are doing that is a different story. You can tell them and tell them and tell them. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to do it, but I completely agree with you. That's a great way to go about it, and helps the fleet managers out, to where if you guys need to track down from a vehicle POC, that's one of the ways you can do it. So I recommend it.
Hey, Eric and Audrey, this is Courtney from WHD. So just every state is a little different. So in New Jersey, they're not allowed to pump their own gas. That's one caveat to this whole mileage thing. But there is a way for you as a fleet manager to pull the fuel usage reports yourself in GSA Fleet Drive-Through. So that is another way for you to validate the mileage that is already in here, and then go to the local fleet POCs for them to be able to validate the local person who is actually driving the vehicles. In WHD, the drivers of the vehicles are responsible for having the logs inside the vehicles. So if there's a discrepancy, will reach out to them to validate the vehicle. If in this instance, G102564U, since that is a big negative number, I would reach out to that local POC and ask, after I've pulled the fuel usage report out of the system, and ask whether or not what is that local mileage. Typically, the fuel usage report will also show this data since it's a data dump from autos. And then I will ask them, and sometimes you have the ability to reach out to the FSR, and the FSR can either, one, correct it in GSA Fleet Drive-Through at that time, and or have the fleet person or the local contact to correct it in the system. And then it will automatically populate in autos for you, so that and it will downstream correct everything else. So that's what I've been doing, and I'm happy to help anybody else that needs that help as well. But they should electronically, since COVID, I think Ron, maybe last year or the year before, sent out that electronic form for people to now utilize when we were in COVID. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Courtney.
Hey, Audrey, let me answer a question in the chat real quick. Matthew asked, can we get telematics added to GSA cars, or does it come on them new? Telematics is installed on the vehicles. I sent a message out to the fleet managers about a month or so ago for Chevy, GM, and Ford vehicles on how to update the system to make sure telematics is working. And right now, Audrey showed in the slides here about the telematics button that you can select in autos, that'll show the mileage on the vehicle. And you can do that. There's also more telematics involved, but that's off of a subscription called Pro Plus. And we aren't authorized to have that subscription as of right now. So you can't get any more information than what Audrey is showing there on the screen of the odometer. The Pro Plus subscription is, I believe it's $13 a month per vehicle, and we're just not authorized to have that. I pull a telematics report from GSA every month and make sure nobody has that installed. And if they do, I send that report to the affected agency's fleet manager to make sure that they get that removed. So you can use the telematics. You may not be able to depend on it 100% because you never know with the telematics if it's reporting correctly. It probably is, more than likely is reporting correctly, but you still, if there's a big discrepancy, the easiest way to go back is to get with the POC and see if they have any records showing the mileage. But telematics definitely helps, like what Audrey's showing right there.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
No problem. And just to kind of reiterate that and go over, this information is what is in GSA. So if the telematics is showing, you know, that potential new odometer reading, it's going to show here, and we pre-populate that for you. What we're really having you do on this page is just confirm that the odometer reading is correct, because like Eric said, it's, you know, it's hard to just trust the information from either GSA or the telematics. We want to have that different level of oversight from the POC and then from the fleet manager to make sure, because there are different errors that come up and they come about, and that affects the reporting and it also affects the billing. So we want to make sure that that information is corrected, and like Courtney was saying, is corrected with GSA as well, because they need to make sure that, you know, that is corrected on their end too.
And it's really, really important to make sure that you're going in there and making sure this stuff is up to date and accurate. We're getting closer to the end of the fiscal year to when we're going to be doing our fast reporting. And the more information that is in fast that is accurate and correct, the easier it's going to be on everybody to get that fast information reported. So we don't have to come back to the fleet managers and to the POCs to get us information to make it accurate. So checking on that all the time is definitely helpful to keep things accurate.
Thanks, Eric. And let's see. Let's pick up. We only have a few more slides, everyone. I think we were going to go until 3:30. So we just have a few more things and we can kind of go through that and ask any questions as well. So the build after disposal is something that I get a lot of questions on as well. This is kind of a data analysis of the GSA bill and that the inventory and then the bill. And it's letting you know if a vehicle is still showing in the bill after it was 3 or more months after it was last seen in the inventory. So the purpose and the importance of this is to ensure that we are not getting billed for vehicles that we no longer have in our possession. So there are some reasons why you might see a charge after the vehicle was disposed. And some of those are the vehicle hasn't been disposed of. It actually is still active in the fleet, in which case, you know, maybe you were going to replace the vehicle, but you couldn't, and it's still there. You would want to make sure that in GSA, it's still marked as active. And then the next one is a vehicle had charges when it was turned in. So maybe the vehicle had a scratch on it or was damaged in some way. And then now you're responsible for that repair cost. The next one is the vehicle was turned in early, and that means that the agency is responsible for the monthly lease until it ends or it's reassigned. So at that point, you might still be getting that charge, and that's valid. Let's see here. The next one is that you are being improperly billed for the agency or the agency is being improperly billed and it's no longer a part of the fleet. So in that case, you would definitely want to talk to your FSR and see if you can recover those costs. I'm going to go into the system real quick and just display that so you all are aware. I'm not sure if I said this, but we made an update where you can actually make this a full screen, or you can make it hidden or small. So as you guys are going through this, you can kind of do that, and that way it doesn't take up so much of the page. Okay, so now we are in the build after disposal. You can maybe run a report if you need to search on a VIN. You can look by agency if you have multiple agencies, or an over amount, but there's only 2 here right now. And so it's going to tell you the number of months since it was seen in the inventory, and it gives you those last dates so that you can review it. It also is going to link here to your billing report so that you can have that information at the ready. Now say, okay, $146. I know, I understand where that's coming from. You're going to go here and just say reviewed, the date that you reviewed it, and then maybe add some notes. If you wanted to challenge it, you could check that box there and then hit save. And then what's going to happen is you're going to take that information. If you are challenging it, to either your fleet manager or the FSR, however your kind of chain of command works, and then try to talk with them and communicate with them about why you're being charged for this vehicle and if it's correct. Because we don't want unnecessary charges to be reoccurring for those vehicles and your agency. So it's just kind of alerting you to these potential issues, but it's not necessarily saying that it is an issue. It's for the human, the user, the vehicle contact to decide if that is an issue. Okay. So this one is about the monthly fleet report. So around the 12th, 13th, depending on, the weekends where they fall, we will provide a monthly fleet report to Eric, who in turn sends it to the fleet managers. And for those fleet managers to send that out to the vehicle contacts, the monthly fleet report is a synopsis of everything that's gathered in autos. But I do want to reiterate that it's actually a static report. So from the moment we run it, it is taking a snapshot of that date and time. And if a person were to, 2 minutes later go in and correct the odometer, it's not going to be reflected in that report. So we really use the monthly fleet report as a guide to let us know what the potential issues are, what we might need to be looking out for, and kind of like a progress report. But we use autos because it's updated in real time. So it may not match 100%. You might want to, just keep that in mind. But if you do see any errors, as in, the VIN number doesn't look right, or maybe you don't understand a specific section, or the percentages aren't looking right, definitely reach out to us and we can get those things corrected. But if you're showing 100% and your monthly fleet report is not, then that's not really an error. It's just that somebody went in and corrected it. But this is a little snapshot of the monthly fleet report on the fuel miles, the odometer page. What is wrong in this monthly fleet report? The issue is that this user went in and validated October of 2021 and October and November of 2021, and then there was a negative 3,000 miles. So again, this is kind of why we do this in a hierarchical way, so the fleet managers can know, okay, this is in red because this is a problem. Then they're able to look at this VIN number, and we also now include the vehicle contact on this, and they're able to contact you to let you know, hey, this is actually still an error and it actually needs to be corrected within autos. So that's how we use the fleet management report to kind of guide us to helping us with autos. So I have here some frequently asked questions, and I can kind of go over them to kind of jog your mind a little bit, give you some questions that you might have. Or if anybody has questions now, I'd be happy to take those and we can go over this later.
Go ahead and run through them real quick, Audrey.
Okay, awesome. So how do we know what is covered and what is not covered for GSA vehicles? That's going to be in your GSA leasing agreement. So check that out. And if you're wondering, okay, why is this car wash not covered? You would want to contact your FSR. Do we need to lie or manipulate odometer readings? No. The goal of this system is to get the most accurate data possible. So if you drove 5,000 miles last month, then you drove 5,000 miles last month, and that is the truth, and that's what we want in the system, but it's designed to flag potentially concerning areas. How do you change the temporary password? So that is going to be up here in the sign off field, and you're going to click sign off and then reset password. The next page is how do we make sure that we do not have an AIE as a result of a delay in a recall being taken care of? Again, this is just communication with your GSA representative, your FSR, and you want to keep them in the loop, because if ignoring a recall for an extended period of time can result in an agency incurred expense. But if you're communicating with them, then they'll know that it's not necessarily being ignored. The next one is, so once you make a note and review it, it closes out the recall. How do you know 3 weeks from now that you still have an open recall? So the system is actually going to sort, as soon as you review it, it takes it off the certified, the no list, the certified no list. So then you'll just use those filters that I was showing you all throughout the presentation, and you can click certified all, and then they will reappear. Also to note, the next month, say that the recall hasn't been addressed in July, when we get that report, it's going to pop back up because it still hasn't been taken care of. It will reappear. If you have various sites for vehicle locations, like another off-site center location, we are putting in the off-center garage location, correct? So that was a question that I got. And then for our reporting purposes, we want to make sure that we know the exact location where the vehicle is parked. So wherever that garage location is, we want to make sure that we know, and that way it can be easily identified. Okay, the next page is, can you tell in autos what service was missed? Unfortunately, our GSA file does not tell us what exact service was missed. So you can do that by logging into either GSA drive-through, or you can contact your FSR. How often are the updates to autos? And our updates actually happen on an as needed basis. There's not really a time frame for them, but a lot of them happen, every 2 months or 4 months, and you might see like little small changes, or like we're creating the My Profile. So we work with, Eric on that side and Ron to make sure that the system is accommodating all of y'all's needs. And so we will let you know and update this presentation as the updates happen. Do I need to put in a disposal date for the vehicle? You actually don't need to do that if it's a GSA leased vehicle. If it's an agency owned, on the other hand, you will be able to put that information in, but GSA leased vehicles, they give us a disposal date.
And same for commercially leased. If you have a commercially leased vehicle, you'll need to put that date in there because GSA doesn't know about it.
Okay, great. Commercially leased. The next page is, what do I do if GSA card is missing? Who do you contact? If you lost your gas card, you'll want to contact either your GSA FSR, or you're going to contact some vehicle contacts have access to the gsafleet.gov, and then you can request a new card through the site. Okay, and then the last one is, do we still need to fill out the accident form 91? I think that was a JCC specific form, but I included it on here because any of the forms that your fleet manager or your agency still require you to fill out, those are still necessary. Our system, Autos, does not actually replace any of the forms or the processes and procedures that you would normally do. Okay, so that is the end of the training. Does anybody have any thoughts or questions, concerns, suggestions?
Here's Lashante, just going back to the first page of the frequently asked questions for
Yes.
Eric, is it still, I guess this question is for Eric, is it still for GSA drive-through, excuse me, for GSA drive-through as well as autos, if the vehicle was not driven that month, we're still adding a mile?
Yeah, that's a GSA thing. So yeah,
Okay.
you'll still have to put that mile in there. I don't know why they do that, but that's GSA does GSA.
Okay, but we should still do it for autos as well.
Yeah, because when Autos gets the information from GSA, when they get their upload, it's going to have it on there. So
Okay,
it'll still be there.
okay, perfect. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Hey, Robert, do you still have that question about the miles per gallon?
Hi, Eric. Yes, Audrey, I stopped by Eric's office and I asked him a question yesterday. And I think you partially addressed it earlier, but like a lot of the flags that I have for my agency, they're exceeds miles per gallon, the average. And like when a vehicle's parked, like say they fill up the month before and get gas and then it's parked for a month, it kind of skews the numbers, and it looks like the majority of my flags, it's that scenario. Is that a glitch?
It doesn't sound like it. We actually did adjust the flag. I think it used to be 1,000 miles and now it's 3,000 miles. But if it still is going to flag any of those, high miles, it's still going to do that just because that's the rule in the computer that it's programmed to do. And that's, to potentially help catch any errors. But you can disregard that in terms of, if that is a correct, the high mileage is correct, then that's what it is. Our system is just designed to kind of flag those issues that may be a concern. So in your case, it is accurate. It's just maybe for another agency, it would be something that needed to be corrected.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Eric, for.
You're welcome.
Does anybody need to see like another portion of or another demonstration of something in the system? Any other policy questions? Well, we've got Eric. Okay. If not, you all can find us at, let me go back to this contact us screen here. You all can find us here for any system questions or if you need any help logging in, and then you can contact the Fleet Management Program here, either Ron or Eric. And then as always, you can contact your fleet managers if you need to go through them as well.
All right. Thank you, Audrey, for your help on this, and thank you everybody for attending today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you.